Hi, kids. Do you like violence? Welcome to Listen to the Music. I'm Chase.
I'm Harrison.
I'm Finley.
They call me Sean.
And today we're going to be talking about the one who they call Eminem.
Why do they call him that, Harrison? That's a funny nickname.
Well, wait, do you want like the actual answer or a joke?
Doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah. Big cool guy.
Eminem.
Actual answer is because his name is Marshall Mathers. Both of those start with an M. M&M. Eminem. Eminem.
The name is actually a
Eminem.
reference to the popular chocolate candy produced
Skittles.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
I can't believe we've gone off the rails this
Already, yeah.
Start. What?
No, this is going to be a good one.
If you're new to the show, this is how this podcast works.
It's going to be a great time, a grand old time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do folks want to start with? I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Eminem. So, I mean, we can talk about his start in the music industry, his current presence.
Well, if we talk about his start in the music industry, we can talk about like how that is mirrored by the story told in the movie 8 Mile.
Sure. Seems
how he started off as like a battle rapper in like who lived in like a trailer park home, and just like through his like pure skill and vocabulary and just like mastery of the art just kind of ascended past, like, I'm going to say all because he's my favorite rapper, but like all rappers or most rappers, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, his story is it's like the success story, you know what I mean?
Like
the American dream.
Like
young Eminem Mathers growing up in the trailer park. You know, he in the year 1968 he saw the film 8 Mile for the first time, and then decided, you know what, that's gonna be me when I grow up. And then in 1816, I think it was, you know, he got discovered by Dr. Dre, who is actually a neurosurgeon at his local hospital. But yeah, in all seriousness, everything I
none
said
of that's if you don't. None of that's.
Finley, it's obviously a joke. It's
well. I'm
18.
Providing context for those who might not have or even a general knowledge. For those of you who are unfamiliar with 8 Mile, movie about
Eminem, by the way, was not born before 1968.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
Yeah. 8 Mile movie about, you know, a story parallel to Eminem's experience, in which he is the central actor.
A semi-autobiographical film, if you will.
Yes. Not entirely a documentary, but talking about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
One thing that was true in my outlandish story was that he was discovered by Dr. Dre, a prominent rapper of the 90s and early 2000s, who was part of another a big group, NWA, who was you know, late 90s. They were like super big, but I think they only recorded 2 albums or something before kind of splitting off. And I think Dre produced a couple of Eminem's early albums, or was it just here? Let's check with our good old friend Wikipedia.
Well, Sean checks Wikipedia. I just want to say that Dr. Dre, if you don't know much about him as a producer, he is one of the most prolific producers of hip-hop music. Probably the best producer, like, period.
Yeah.
his work is just absolutely fantastic, and
Yeah.
he like how he relates to like all these other like people in the hip hop scene is just like mind boggling.
Mm-hmm. He is one of the central figures of the current industry, I'd say, if not the most. Like, you can find connections to this man all over the place. Like, I can't think of many artists who have that same connectedness.
Yeah. Wait, did I say NWA was late 90s?
Yes.
You did.
I did not mean. Sorry, they were late 80s. And it's 10 years off. It's fine. But yeah, Dr. Dre very prolific in
Mm-hmm.
in the hip hop genre, as
Yeah,
far as
yeah.
his, and even I don't think like obviously now since then Eminem has his songs not produced by Dre, but the influence is still definitely there because like even though like Dre produced and produces a ton of stuff, but then that's not even talking about all the artists and producers that his work has influenced.
Mm-hmm. Also, someone can correct me on this. I just kind of want to, because like I brushed on this a bit, like how he like relates to all of them, and I meant that literally. I'm pretty sure he's Warren G's stepbrother, and Warren G is Nate Dogg's best friend, and Nate Dogg and Snoop Dogg are cousins. So it's just like the weirdest like family tree.
I
hip-hop.
know a little bit of that. I know about a little bit of that. But yeah. Yeah. But turning us a little bit back to Eminem, because we were talking about his 8 Mile, the start he had in the industry. Do we want to dig into his early career, early albums a little bit more? Well, like,
Sure,
anyone
Finley.
have anything they want to talk about with that? Sure.
So with his first album, the Slim Shady LP, we get introduced to, as the name may suggest, Slim Shady, one of Eminem's. Eminem kind of popularized the idea of having an alter ego in rap, and we can see that, of course, on My Name Is, and that and a bunch of other songs that contributes, that continues then further down the road as sort of more comedic, but also very violent lyrically and sort of aiming for shock value for a lot of his stuff.
And what I will say about his, while we're talking about Slim Shady, so Slim Shady was introducing for Eminem like that alter ego that wasn't. Slim Shady is a very unglamorous character.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think with a lot of especially if you're looking at like the gangster rap kind of a thing, you get it's very, very cool, very suave, if you will. You know what I mean? But Eminem is kind of he's the most well known shock rapper, I'd say. Period. But he kind of introduced this character who was just kind of, not glamorous, not cool, just very, aggressively,
loud and violent.
Present. Yeah, loud and violent. I think very much describes the Slim Shady alter ego.
I just want to say that I think it's kind of funny that the Slim Shady LP came out before the Marshall Mathers LP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he introduced that character before he introduced himself, and I'm pretty sure on the
It was
Marshall
Slim
Mathers
Shady
LP
first.
is the real Slim Shady. Like that song's on the Marshall Mathers LP.
Yes. Which makes sense because the real Slim Shady is
Eminem.
Eminem.
Whoa, mind blown, dude.
Mind truly blown. But yeah, and that was like 1999. And then he started taking off with after like that hit, and that was a massive. The Slim Shady LP and then the Marshall Mathers LP, like those were massive albums. A lot of people that they spread very quickly, with lots of very well-known songs, such as "My Name Is," and I'm just going through Slim Shady LP, lots of them. "I'm Shady."
I'd like to mention Guilty Conscience, which
Guilty
features Dr.
Conscience,
Dre.
yeah, Guilty Conscience is really good.
And Finley, I think you've said previously
Bonnie
in conversation that 97 Bonnie and Clyde is one of your favorites.
Bonnie and Clyde, yep, it's a good one.
That's one that like that's one that really, because like the Slim Shady LP, that's like that's, as we've talked about, that's his it's his persona, it's his alter ego. But through that one, we can see that while this is all heavily dramatized and like hyperbolized, it definitely is a dramatized and hyperbolized version of himself. And we see like that 97 Bonnie and Clyde, that's like about like what he's going through, and like that it's kind of a really whack song because he used his daughter to make a diss track on her mother.
Yep. Yeah. And that is early Eminem, I think, actually summarized.
And obviously, as Eminem grew older, he did evolve as a rapper.
Of course.
I believe this April marked his 12th year of sobriety.
Mm-hmm. And
so like, oh yeah, go ahead.
I think that gets us into recovery. I think because we're moving through albums.
I think
like,
Relapse came out before.
Recovery.
Yeah,
Relapse did
was
come out before Recovery, but I think
Relapse was 09 and Recovery was 10, right?
Yeah. Recovery is one of those albums where like I think like I obviously, as I said last time, I didn't listen to a ton of music when I was a wee lad, but like Recovery is like one of those times like I remember when these songs came out. Like I remember Love the Way You Lie, fantastic song.
Yeah.
I remember when I remember hearing Not Afraid a lot. That was a song that was played very frequently. And that's kind of, even though like I didn't start listening to Eminem, Recovery was the first time I had heard Eminem. And
yeah,
I think it's definitely one of his better albums, because after that, starting with like Revival especially, his next couple were not quite up to snuff with his previous material.
Yeah, and that's I'm sure we'll have some conversations. Like his late career is interesting. While we're on the subject of recovery and relapse, though, it's for a artist like he started with it was a very it was not popular among parental advisory recommended, like his persona was very there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of drugs and alcohol. So in terms of artists reimagining themselves, and not even reimagining themselves, because post relapse and recovery, he's still Eminem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't say like he changed entirely. He's like so different now. He's he's still Eminem, but it's really in terms of the like reimagining, rebuilding his kind of whole thing, it's very there. Like his name, the names of those albums are Relapse, Recovery, eventually Revival. We'll get into that in a little bit, but like I think, you know, it's nice beacon of hope, I think, actually, what he did.
And I think reading some interviews with him, like with his earlier work, a lot of the reason that it was so like violent and like in your face was because that was how part of the reason was because at the time that's how he knew how to express his feelings through this very venomous explosive attitude, and that's why you have things like 97 Bonnie and Clyde, which he has since said was probably a bad idea because then he's going to have to explain to his daughter why he made a song about killing her mother.
Yeah.
Whereas in his more recent stuff, he still has that he still has that aggression, but it's
music to be murdered by.
It's a musical choice as opposed to a this is how I'm getting out all my feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, but also like at the beginning, I think that like because of his background as a battle rapper, like that's why like a lot of like he knows how to rap through aggression. Like he like looks at you, sees what he doesn't like, and then he attacks.
Tells you. Yeah. And I am going to talk briefly about battle rap in the like it's the taking a beat and freestyling, aggressive, just taking down an opponent who's also doing the same kind of deal. Of, you know, seeing it's like a diss battle, pretty much.
It is a diss battle.
It's a rap battle.
It's
battle rap.
Exactly that. And like, you know, just for those weren't familiar with the term.
But yeah, so some of his, you know, because we've been going through a couple of his albums, you know, some notable ones. I don't think we've talked about the Eminem show yet, which was.
Oh, I love the Eminem show.
It's got a lot of really solid tracks on there, and it's also kind of like it's coming from a place where he was like. That's why it's the Eminem show, whereas the first two were it was Slim Shady, and there was Marshall Mathers, and then it was Eminem. So it's like he's now. This is how he's known because he's gotten his. When he's at kind of his peak of relevance.
He has his persona, he has who he actually is, and then he has Eminem.
As an artist.
Yep.
And
I want to say some notable tracks on that album, Without Me Until I Collapse by Nate Dogg.
Right here next to my phone. I don't know where it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Without Me is a fantastic one.
Really, really, really good. I think yeah, the Eminem Show is an interesting, like, it's the next album he released after the Marshall Mathers LP. 2 years after the first two albums were released back to back. So it's an interesting, like, it was his proper, like, I'm here to stay kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Which is kind of like a lot of the point of Without Me.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels so empty without me.
But that's why I'm staying. Mm-hmm. And then we hit Encore 2 years later.
Encore.
And then Encore. Thank you. And
yeah, Encore is it's a half compilation, half it's part of its old songs, but like new performances of it. Like it's got the Encore has the Stan with Elton John, right?
He didn't do it.
So, he didn't do it with Stan. Was with Elton John was in Oscars in 2010, I think it was 2012.
Oh, that was Curtain Call. I'm thinking of Curtain Call.
Yeah.
Wait, which album was Stan on?
Ignore.
Stan was actually on one of the first ones, I believe.
It was on Marshall Mathers.
It was on.
Oh, it was on Marshall Mathers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ignore everything I just said earlier. I was talking about Curtain Call, not Encore. They have very similar looking covers.
You good? Yeah, they very
one's
much do.
Blue and one's red.
The major difference.
Encore's got blue on it.
Yes, the curtains are blue.
Yeah. The curtains, Curtain Call.
Eminem shows.
First song, Curtains Up.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, are you talking about the Eminem show?
No.
No, Eminem show has red curtains.
Yeah.
No, but I think the Eminem show, the first one is Curtains Up.
Yes, same with Encore.
Wait, now I'm even more confused.
Okay.
So the Eminem show.
Look through Eminem's discography. There's a lot of songs titled Paul or Paul Rosenberg or Paul Skit.
Yep.
Paul.
That's one of his more out there choices. But you know what? He clearly, like, those are some of his least listened to tracks, most of them. But you know, he keeps putting them out, so he likes it.
Yep. I will admit, I have actually listened to the Kamikaze Paul track on repeat once. That was a weird afternoon. But
Oh, this is Curtain Call.
Yes.
It's not on like his main discography. It's like
not on his Spotify page.
Okay, that's why I was confused.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe Oh wait, no, I think it's in
It's like further down. It's under like
it's an EP, right? Or a compilation.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a compilation.
Mm-hmm.
Stand with Elton John, I believe, is on that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's still Dido.
No,
it's Elton John. It's Elton John on Curtain Call.
Is it? Okay.
I think both of them are on Curtain Call, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curtain Call
2005.
Yeah. While we're talking about albums, before we've gone through all of them, or we can go through all of them if y'all want to, but talking about personal favorites among them.
Among albums or particular tracks?
Let's start with albums. and then we can go into particular tracks.
I'm gonna say what I said earlier. I really like Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like I will admit, Love the Way You Lie. Like I mainly like because of the Rihanna part. Just because that's a really good little chorus.
I'm leaving you. No, you ain't.
Have you seen those? That's part of it. Because
Yeah.
like you seen like those videos where it's like, and she just keeps saying no, you ain't.
I love that video. That's like the main reason I like that song. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
No, you ain't.
With the spaghetti.
Yeah.
But yeah, Recovery.
Recovery's a fun one.
Yeah.
Fun to me because of the reasons aforementioned. Also, like that was my first introduction to Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think if I were to say my favorite, it would probably be the Slim Shady LP, which I know it's like his first one, but like there are so many hits on it that I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
And I want to give an honorable mention to, which we're definitely going to talk about, but Music to Be Murdered By has some of the craziest lyricism.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have a whole section talking about revival through Music to Be Murdered By, because that's definitely a significant bit to talk about. Yeah. I personally, Chase, you actually were largely responsible for my introduction to Eminem. Like I knew him, and I'd listened to his stuff when it came on, but like,
yeah, weren't you a big Logic boy before Eminem?
I was interested. I was okay. Actually, fun fact: I was introduced to Logic through the web show Critical Role. They actually had there's a story here. If you don't know it, it's a D&D podcast where a bunch of voice actors play D&D. But they have a interviews sub show where their guy interviewed Logic, and I was like, I don't listen to a lot of rap, but hey, this guy appeared on my feed. I'll listen to some of his stuff, and I liked Logic in the and we'll talk about him maybe eventually, probably. But he's very laid back, so I was kind of into that, and then I was like, all right, you introduced me to Eminem, which was a big shift. With Music to Be Murdered By, I listened to a lot of.
Oh, so you're really new to Eminem.
Yes, and well, so yes and no. I didn't listen to a lot until then, and then Eminem was one of my primary artists that I've listened to since then. Pretty much.
Because that was like January.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I remember it because it was
Yeah.
January 17th, and I remember that date for a very specific reason. But
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Finley's a funny guy. You know, he listens to Eminem, except his big rage playlist is the Chopin Nocturnes. So
I'm sure I'm sure we'll actually have a day when we're talking about Chopin. I hope.
Yeah, I mean,
And actually, now that I've said it on the podcast properly, one of these days we're gonna have an episode about Chopin. It's gonna happen.
I'm down straight up.
Yeah.
I mean,
but,
we can have that be like a dual episode where we talk about just because they're so similar, we talk about like Chopin and 6ix9ine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like.
They're basically the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
They're both pioneers.
I'm gonna finish my
will
bit, and then Chase, if you would like to say a bit on that.
I will boycott.
Boycott.
He's so distraught by what we said that he can't speak.
I will boycott this podcast if we do an episode on 6ix9ine. I will not participate in that episode. If
No, it's
I-
fine. I won't have anything to say.
I don't think yet. For those listening, you may be a big Gosh 6ix9ine fan. I'm sorry. We're not.
I'm not sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, actually.
This is the one time I will say, we don't want your money.
Take your money somewhere else.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
We'll still take your money.
Yeah.
I can't believe we went so long without mentioning the fact that you should give us money.
I was really hopeful. I'm not gonna lie. I was, but
That we weren't going to.
yeah. To
It's
finish off my bet, after discovering Recovery, I'd have to say Recovery is actually my favorite album. Even though I started out with Music to Be Murdered By, which is an excellent album. If you haven't listened to a lot of Eminem, I think it's probably also one of his most accessible albums. But yeah, once I actually Music to Be Murdered By or Recovery. Recovery is also actually, I think, fairly accessible, especially if you don't listen to a lot of rap. Because
I may be wrong, but I think Recovery is his only album without Slim Shady.
yeah,
I may be
Is
wrong.
that
Makes
true?
sense.
that would make sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I am a big Recovery fan.
No, you ain't.
There you go. But yeah, Chase.
Okay. Sheesh, favorite album. I'm gonna have to go. Oh my, this is difficult for me. Oh my, this is some olive oil right here. Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. Encore.
All right.
Solid.
Because Mockingbird, and that's
Yup.
all I have to say.
Yep. That's actually really fair.
Mockingbird is my favorite Eminem song.
My
Case
favorite,
closed. That's all I have to say.
my favorite song
Boom.
on Encore is Paul Skit. However, close behind is another song on that record, M Calls Paul
Skit. Yeah, no, that's really fair though. Mockingbird is like, while we're talking about Eminem, I don't think we've mentioned this, but the songs this man constructs are really like linguistic masterpieces.
I have something to say about that.
Yeah, put aside the whole like shock rap thing. Like this man's a. But yeah, Harrison, what do you want to say?
So I've read a lot of articles about this and like a lot of interviews. Eminem is like factually, like there is data and statistics behind this. He has the largest vocabulary of like, and definitely any rapper. I think any musician. He uses more words, more varieties of words in his songs. He is able to rhyme pretty much anything. And, like, obviously there's some words that don't have 100% perfect rhymes, but, like, near rhymes are a really big part of rap, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So his ability to, like the amount of variety of words he uses, plus the fact that he can rhyme anything, like, makes it so that his songs are like no other songs. Like, he is a very smart person. Which, like, if you just listen to his music without listening to the words, you're just like, oh, he's very loud, very violent. Like, but he's so smart.
Yeah.
Like, his thoughts are very well put together.
Very, and I think listening to, like, Mockingbird, Stan, Like, and many more, not all of which are coming to mind at the moment, but like Mockingbird and Stan, very specifically, are just like, in terms of, they're just musical masterpieces. They're, you talk about like an artist's popularity, longevity, like all this other stuff, their musical ability, right? Their like talent with their craft, singing or playing an instrument. But then you get to like the thought and the ability to communicate a very specific like experience or idea with such nuance, like really achieves that in a way that I find very impressive. Yeah.
Coming from someone who generally lyrics, like I don't care about lyrics. They don't really affect my opinions of songs for the most part. What really gets me about Eminem, in addition to like the standard like his flow, his the music behind it, is his rhyme schemes. Just because like even like not just like, oh, that's a clever rhyme. You rhymed orange with whatever.
Orange.
Yeah, but like just all the like the nested rhymes and the having 5 or 6 different rhymes within each line. It's like it should be a crime.
Like he's gonna do time.
Oh god. But yeah, no, that's a very good. Like, I think you to fully appreciate the Eminem lyrics.
You must have a very high IQ to understand Eminem.
But like, yeah, the rhyme schemes and the poetic ability, right? The ability to construct is really really complex, and that kind of goes into what Harrison was talking about earlier, like with Eminem being a really intelligent musician. Like, there's some really complicated stuff he's doing, that's really impressive, and he does it at speed.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, like, it's already impressive when like a musician, like a regular musician. When I say regular musician, I mean like a slower, maybe like rock. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like there's more air between words in most songs. But when Eminem sings, he's able to string together these intricate rhymes. And like there's like double entendres in there, and there's like allusions to other stuff, and he's able to do it at whatever the word is, breakneck speed. He's so fast, and I want to take a moment to talk about the fact that I think he's had the Guinness record for fastest rap 3 times.
Yeah, it was Rap God,
and then that Nicki Minaj song Majesty or something. And then
Godzilla.
And Godzilla is one of those songs where sometimes I listen to a song and then I just put it on repeat, and like every time a certain part of the song comes on, I have like the biggest, stupidest grin on my face, like I'm grinning like an idiot. But
okay, I can tell you exactly what musically is happening at that point. I can break it down for you and explain to you why that happens. I'm not going to, but I'm just saying I could, and I know what's happening in that part. There's this very specific thing that Eminem does and has mastered. What you want me to tell? Oh my God.
The whole point of this is to talk.
Yeah.
Just talk about it.
I'm actually because you are probably the most music theory versed among us, I'd say.
Okay, I'll say it in kind of layman terms. I've noticed I get that specific feeling. I think in various different songs, and I've kind of like cross-referenced them. And I think in that moment, what happens is you have a continuous, very prominent bass line.
Mhm.
It just like oozes into one note from the other, and it's there, and there's like no middle whatsoever. And then you maybe have something on top that's kind of high. And it's just when everything drops out and you just have that bass. And then what Eminem does is he'll like go fast over that. It's just what is happening, because you're listening to, I mean, I guess you're kind of listening to what he's saying. I mean, I can't guarantee that you're going to understand everything at those speeds. But like you're hearing him go so fast, and it's like an acceleration from previous parts of the song, and already that's like, holy, this is so cool. And then it drops out, and you just have that bass, and that's what makes it just feel so great. It's the, as Eminem put it, it's the elevating feeling. When I think it's Rap God, he says you make elevator music, I make elevating music. That's the elevating feeling. That's what it does. That's why it does that. So there's your little trivia thing there.
I was talking to that with my dad last night, actually. I played him. He never heard Godzilla before. I played it for him for the first time last night. And when the fast part came on, the last 30 or so seconds, he looked at me and he smiled so wide. Like, he was, like, awestruck. And, like, the conclusion we came up with was just, like, musical mastery is just, like, something that, like, leaves people awestruck. That probably makes more sense, like, scientifically, what you said.
I mean, there's definitely an aspect of musical mastery, because I said that I've cross-referenced different songs from different artists to kind of figure out what's happening. But at the ability that Eminem has is you can have that just kind of basic theory variant of it, and you'll get that same kind of feeling. But when Eminem learned from pretty much the best besides himself, right? I mean, Dre, with beat making and everything. I think I may be wrong, but I think that Godzilla, the beat for that, was originally one of Dr. Dre's, and Eminem was looking at it and he was like, "Oh, hey, can I use this?" Something like that. And that's how Music to Be Murdered By came to be. It's because he's just so on point with everything. There's an extra level,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to say that I remember Music to Be Murdered By dropped, and everyone was like, "Whoa, Eminem dropped an album. That's so cool." And I was I saw a lot of comments about people that were being like, "Oh, we don't care that you can rap fast. That doesn't matter anymore." Kind of saying that about Godzilla, and it's like, I mean, what did you expect? That's one of the things that he does. That's like one of his shticks. He is a professional rapper, not only in the music sense, but also in the underground battles and everything. That's what he does. You can't go nearly undefeated if you don't know what you're doing, if you can't go fast. I mean,
Is he not undefeated?
I think there was one person that beat him in a rap battle.
He had one.
I only know this because I think Juice WRLD mentioned that guy in an interview once. I don't remember who the person was, but yeah,
Machine Gun Kelly.
No, not Machine Gun Kelly.
I just want to bring the fact that Finlay kind of looks like Machine Gun Kelly. I'm just gonna say it.
Jeez.
And he's
We're leaving it there.
No,
We're leaving it.
Finley looks like the caricature of Machine Gun Kelly on Killshot.
Mm-hmm.
Not actually Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Finley.
No.
Yeah. And I think because I think it's unfair to assume people know who Machine Gun Kelly is, because after the tragedy that is his musical career.
Wow.
No, Machine Gun Kelly is another rapper who made the mistake of making Eminem angry. And
I would argue it's not a mistake. Because
I mean, it boosted his popularity like way past what it was.
Because
it was kind of smart.
Killshot alone is far more popular and culturally relevant than any of Machine Gun Kelly's work. So, and Eminem references this in the song. Like he knew what he was doing. He knew like, oh, if I call out one of the biggest guys in the game, then that like people may like then think less of me, but like I'll get more people listening to me then because they'll be like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And that kind of is like, that kind of brings me to think of like a different something that's kind of a staple of rap, which is like the interplay between different artists, whether it's like diss tracks like that or if it's like collaborations, like as we see on Music to Be Murdered By, like nearly every song has or features some other artist. Like, you know, like Godzilla obviously has that hook by Juice WRLD.
Features Juice WRLD. That's actually how I discovered Juice WRLD, was Godzilla.
But you know, that's one of the things I like about rap, because a lot of times in music, people will like there's like a lot of competition, and like there definitely still is in rap, but like
collaborative competition.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, collaborative competition. It's a good way to put it, because like for example, Dre, most of his like if you look at his biggest hits, most of them feature Snoop Dogg.
Forgot about Dre features Eminem.
This is also true. Like,
it's a great song, by the way.
Mm-hmm. But you know, I just kind of I like that, because music is something that is definitely collaborative in nature, even if you're not actively collaborating with someone else. Like your influence, like, you know, your influence and the people you've listened to are directly responsible for what comes to your mind and what you create. And so when people are collaborating with each other, they're kind of celebrating that interdependency in music, sort of. Interdependency is a poor way of phrasing it, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Coexistence. What's that? Symbiotic relationship.
Symbiosis.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, if we're gonna talk about features, just as a tiny piece of the conversation, in terms of slang, I mean, we all know stan, right? Yeah. That's become a stan is now like a massive fan, right?
Yeah.
And then Renegade was a song put out by Jay-Z, and to be renegaded now is to be totally out-rapped by someone on your own song, and that term was popularized by Eminem on Renegade, because he just destroyed him. Yeah, it's not even about like dissing someone. It's just you're just so much better on that song than the actual person whose song it is.
Yeah.
And also on features, I'm just gonna say real quick, it was mentioned, oh yeah, Music to Be Murdered By has features on nearly every song or whatever. If you Big Sean, his recent album is like Detroit 2 or something. 21 songs, and it has something like 27 features.
Dang.
Eminem is one of them. So, yeah. There's like 9 of them on what is it, Friday Night Cypher. But that's beside the point.
I just wanna bring up like this has nothing to do with this part, but when we started talking about symbiosis, I just thought it was kind of funny because didn't Eminem like do a song or like part of the soundtrack for Venom?
Yeah,
He did. That Venom is on Kamikaze. I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he performed Venom at the Empire State Building or something. Something like that. Cool. At one point. Yeah.
And do we want to give a quick talk about, because we were talking about it earlier, come back to it. The
Chopin?
I think they want to be talked about in parallel, Revival and then Kamikaze.
So Revival is widely considered to be one of Eminem's worst albums. Like for me, like, you know, I like the Beyonce part of Walk on Water, but the album itself doesn't really do it for me for the most part. And then Kamikaze, a lot of Kamikaze was kind of like Kamikaze is kind of an angry album for the most part. Which, you know, it's Eminem, that's what you'd expect. But a lot of it was kind of fueled by, at least from what I've read, you know, some of his frustration about people not liking Revival kind of comes through it there. And I think Kamikaze is still you know, I'd say it's not one of his better albums, but, you know, it's a noticeable improvement. Like, it definitely does, like, you know, it's got
Kamikaze's got a lot of good.
It's got Lucky You. Like,
The
it's
Ringer.
no recovery, but it's definitely like a step forward from Revival. And then there's Music to Be Murdered, by which, as we talked about, is a very solid record.
Yeah.
It's like it's got some corny lines in it, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you gotta, like, sometimes, you know, you just gotta say something corny because it serves the song.
And also, if you've got over 1,000 lyrics in an album, it's just statistics that one of them is going to be not. You know what I mean?
I think Eminem, both Eminem and Lil Wayne, both Google their own lyrics to make sure that they're not doing anything over again. So that's just like, you know, not only have they made so much, they're actively making sure that they're not redoing something.
Yeah.
I know, God, what's his name? Lil Uzi Vert. Not Lil Pump. I'm not talking about Pump right now. And as much as I would love to talk about Lil Uzi Vert, I'm not talking about Lil Uzi Vert right now. God. Lil TJ has a lot of, well, there's like this one line that he's used at least 3 times, and it goes something along the lines of something hurting. She says she's a virgin. Like, it's hurting. She says she's a virgin, or something like that. And I know of at least, I think, 3 instances where he's used that, and it's kind of frustrating for me to, like, because, like, I'll hear it and be like, yeah, whatever, and then it'll pop up somewhere else, and I'll just be like, what are you doing?
And like 3 different songs.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it was in a one freestyle, and then it's in a feature, I think, and then it's on some totally different song. Why? What?
I was just gonna say that really, I think that it's really smart. Like I said, he's a very smart person. He's a very smart musician. I think that really connects to another point I made about his like the variety of words he uses and like the variety of phrases and the rhyme schemes that he uses is like probably due to that, the fact that he like looks back over all of his songs that he's ever made to make sure he's not doing anything that he's already done to like keep like innovating and like improving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Definitely.
he's like the anti Dragon Force. Like you've seen the video that's a compilation of all the times Dragon Force say fire and burning in their songs.
No, that was just in that one song.
Oh,
that was just in Through the Fire and the Flames.
I've seen one where it's a different one, but it uses multiple songs and it.
Oh. I don't listen to much Dragon Force. I just know Through the Fire and Flames from Guitar Hero.
Yes.
Fair enough.
But Herman Lee seems. Anyways,
that's yeah.
But yeah, I will say briefly, just because I feel like this needs to be said. Revival be what it may, Castle. If you haven't listened to it, I personally really liked Castle. It's towards the end of the album. And even if the entire album as a whole isn't your favorite, I would recommend checking that one out because.
I haven't spent a lot of time listening to that, but
do you think it's kind of one of those underrated things?
I'd say, yeah. Like if people, just because like Revival is known as not the best Eminem album. That's kind of, how that album is kind of just lumped together. But I will say, listening to that particular song, I found that one to be rather good. I would listen to that. That's one of those ones that I'd repeat. Up there with actually like Godzilla and Mockingbird.
Really?
Yeah.
In terms of underrated songs, on Music to Be Murdered By. Oh no, here goes Trace. He's talking about Music to Be Murdered By again. Oh, does he know anything else? Yes, I do know about other stuff, but this is one example, so please bear with me.
No, I refuse to bear with you.
Okay, well then, I got screwed.
Oh no, please continue, Chase.
I think, Finn, your example was underrated because everyone was just like, oh, this album sucks. Underrated, I think, is because it was overshadowed a lot. Leaving Heaven.
Yes. Yes.
Dude, I love Leaving Heaven.
Yeah.
Godzilla is like, woohoo, yay, but Leaving Heaven is truly my favorite song off that album.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like Darkness on that album.
Yeah, I like Darkness too. It's not like, it's definitely not underrated because it's a very well acclaimed one, but it's
Darkness is
solid.
Jesus.
I mean, and like, it does get a lot of like flack, I guess would be the word, for people don't really know whether or not the message of the song is glorifying or like villainizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's definitely villainizing the tragedies that have happened, but like bringing attention to it, I guess, which some people don't think is the best idea. But like, usually that argument is like made about like talking about the specific person and like who they are, and then like that person becomes like a celebrity after death.
Yeah.
But like he kind of just like interpolates like clips from like the news into it, and like he like parallels like the apprehension before the massacre to like being nervous before going on stage, which like you could see as like kind of like downplaying it, but like I think it's just interwoven in there really well.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the first time I listened to that particular song, I didn't realize what he was doing with it
Until
until
the end.
pretty much.
At the end, that's when he starts talking about
Yeah.
the actual shooting. Oh, for the record, for anyone who doesn't know, like the song's mostly about the Las Vegas shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And they also talk about Santa Fe a bit.
Yeah. That one, once it kind of hit that, like, once I realized what it was, I'm not going to lie, that had me out for a...
Yeah, it shook me up a bit when I first heard it, but...
Yeah, it's very... I think it kind of ties into the... We were talking about a lot of people are like, I don't know if you should be talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Eminem is very much I'm gonna talk about all the stuff I think is important for me to talk about, as well as he's got his... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is an example of that. Just very... He decided this is something that we need to address, to look at, right?
Well, talking about that... Oh, go ahead.
I think it's very interesting how, like, it's like, how are people still surprised at what he talks about? Like, this is the guy who, in his debut album, made a song, or wrote a song about murdering his ex-wife.
Yeah.
It's like, and granted, people have always been calling him out for his lyrics, but like, I've heard people say like this was shocking. Like I was like
appalled.
I was appalled that he would make a song about this. It's like he said a lot of things in his songs. And I don't really, as I've said, I don't really care about lyrics of songs, which is why that's why I'm able to that's why I was fine listening to like a lot of the stuff on the Slim Shady LP, and that's why it NWA doesn't bother me. Like I listen to them, I acknowledge that they have that they do have a lot of like rather misogynistic lyrics, but I'm not listening to them for the lyrics. I'm listening to them for the music and for the flow and delivery.
I think...
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, no, I think, and you may have been, but talking about some of the content, and I think talking about Eminem, I feel like it feels important to talk about some of the content, especially of his earlier stuff, in terms of the... you mentioned, like, some of the misogyny in NWA. Eminem had... there was a lot of stuff in his earlier works. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Bonnie and Clyde, where he's talking about murdering his ex, but like,
the song "My Name Is," the version you'll find on Spotify is like, oh, that's the uncensored version. No, it's like he said, he swears in it, but it's still censored. The original had very not good lyrics, which you can research on your own time. But
I mean, and is like probably his most famous song, "Rap God." He does say something like, "They're asking me to eliminate the woman hate, but if you take into consideration the bitter hatred I have, then you may be a little more patient and sympathetic to the situation and understand discrimination." Which is like, yeah, it's like misogynistic lyrics, huh?
Yeah, go on.
I mean, it is like misogynistic lyrics, kind of, but like it's weirdly self-aware. Like, as we were saying before, Slim Shady as like an entity is like a caricature.
Mm-hmm. I will say, I personally, I will listen to Rap God on occasion, but I do have some trouble listening to that.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Particularly, I do.
Yeah,
Because of the second half and the like legitimately, yeah. The like homophobia and like, and I don't.
Sorry.
It's Eminem has definitely, we talked about this earlier, but has progressed as an artist, I would say. And that part of the accessibility I was talking about with music to be murdered by is you don't have a lot of that. I seem to recall there being, I didn't notice very much at all in terms of like misogynistic lyrics or homophobic or generally any of that in music to be murdered by. And I'm not going to come off and be like, Eminem, I just don't listen to Eminem. I can't stand it. Like, I really enjoy his music and I respect him as an artist. But I think it's important to address that development in his music.
Yeah, and he has like the line that Harrison quoted from Rap God, he has very frequently justified it by saying, "Oh well, I mean, where I grew up, that was, the environment I grew up in, that was okay. It was considered okay to say that." But here's the thing: no, it wasn't okay back then. People said it and didn't call you out on it, but that doesn't mean just. I find that argument a lot. Like, it's like, oh well, people said this word, a lot when I was growing up. Like, yeah, that doesn't mean it's like,
Right.
yeah. I think there's like, it's like my philosophy on it as far as like music is like, no, you really shouldn't say that. And I may find lyrics distasteful, but like, for instance, with the band Cannibal Corpse, I don't I don't I don't dislike them because of their uh vulgar to the point of being corny, overly violent and grotesque lyrics. I don't like those lyrics, but that's not why I don't like them. I don't like them because of their, overuse of blast beats and their overall production that I don't really like, and a bunch of other reasons. And the vocals I don't really like. Where it won't affect how I enjoy how I feel like if this is a good song or not, but it may make me I can recognize when it's like, okay, that's not a good lyric.
And I will say, the thing with Eminem that makes me like, he, while he started with a lot of that stuff, he has over time, I think, especially since the Slim Shady LP, pared down on that content in his, and I think it's he had the, like, Slim Shady LP, you get the self-awareness of like, but it's like, it's the culture I grew up in, it was okay. And then he kind of stops, and it's well, that wasn't kosher. Eminem, not kosher, but like that wasn't. It's the kind of just I don't want to say unacceptable, but like, is the reason I don't listen to Rap God very often, and am selective of earlier stuff. We were talking about Bonnie and Clyde earlier. Bonnie and Clyde, I like, again, it's that interesting thing going on there, and I think it's because of that development that I have, I can respect that growth, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So we're a fair bit past the hour mark at this point.
Yeah.
Are there any
Not to
last
talk about.
super strong opinions, some boiling hot takes, some insight that you need to spew out into the world? And
we haven't really, surprisingly yet, haven't talked about, like, we've, like, a couple of, like, I think Chase mentioned his in passing, or I mentioned Chase mentioned his in passing, but, like, we haven't really talked about our favorite Eminem songs.
right,
Yeah.
That's how we should wrap it
Let's
up.
do that real quick, and then and we can also use these as recommendations, perhaps, for songs that y'all might want to listen to if you are not aware of them already.
All right, let's just go down the list. Chase, what's your just drop? Even I think some people have already said, but just as a final refresher, last note sort of thing.
Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of Eminem songs that I really like, but if I were to say, like, 2 or something, Without Me and Stan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we just kind of, like, ragged on Rap God for a while. I like Rap God, like, a reason of it is, like, in every friend group, there's that one kid that knows the fast part to Rap God, and that's, like, their thing. And I will be honest, I am one of those people. I do know the fast part to Rap God.
And, like, I'll say I have trouble listening to Rap God, but I'm also, like, I respect every friend group has, you know.
I mean, but also,
like,
it's like, it's probably one of his most
well-known
and influential, like, songs.
But Harrison, do you know the fast part of Godzilla?
I know he talks about Minute Maid.
It starts off filmed with a venom and eliminate them, otherwise a minute made them. And then I did it in a fit of rage or something. Yeah, I mean,
Yo, stop.
I'm not gonna try because I wouldn't be able to do.
It's solely to make the rhymes work, right? I mean, there's some meaning, but
well,
continue with songs, please.
Yeah.
Finland.
I'm actually I'm going through changes. Going through changes from recovery. It's not one of his, like, most popular for sure, but it's a really good one if you haven't heard it.
Mm-hmm. Mine would definitely be one that we unfortunately have not talked about. We did talk about 8 Mile a bit at the beginning, but my favorite is definitely Lose Yourself.
Oh, we haven't talked about Lose Yourself.
Yeah, this is true.
How have we not talked about Lose
We did
Yourself?
an episode on Eminem and didn't talk about Lose Yourself.
No, we did
How
talk
is that
about
even
it because
possible?
I'm talking about it right now. So shh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, just be quiet. I'm kidding. But yeah, Lose Yourself is one that just obviously just like it's a great song to like get you pumped up, but also when I was talking about earlier, the lyrics don't matter so much to me, but the rhyme scheme and the aesthetically pleasing sound that brings. Like, I encourage you to look up I don't remember if it was a video or if it was just an image, but it was the lyrics of Lose Yourself, and every line was color coded by which words would rhyme with which other words in that verse, and it was just the amount of nested rhymes and like rhyming, like the mental gymnastics to create such intricate rhyming patterns that also work and make sense is astounding. And that's a word I would use to describe a lot of Eminem's work. Astounding.
I happen to agree.
I think we all do. And
Lose Yourself also has one of the best memes of Eminem songs, which is Mom Spaghetti.
Harrison, would you say you're a fan of Mom Spaghetti?
I am a fan of Mom's Spaghetti.
No, you ain't.
See, okay, here's the thing. Mom's Spaghetti, no you ain't, and then this is more obscure, but in Without Me, how
Now
you know
this
how
looks
it's
like a job for me.
Huh?
Now this looks like a job for me.
Yeah, so obviously it goes, now this looks like a job for me, so everybody just right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another line where he says Patrick, like in the name of someone, and one of my favorite memes, like overall, is it starts off, now this looks like, and then it goes to Patrick, and then it's just the beat. It's like, and that's honestly one of my favorite videos of all time. And there's just like a picture of Patrick on the screen.
Oh, Patrick Star.
Yeah, like Patrick Star. And I don't know why, it's like my favorite thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have seen this video, and I gotta say, it does slap.
I definitely sent it to you like 4 times.
Yeah. And I think with that, with our favorite Eminem songs, favorite Eminem memes, and a overall, I think, astounding, what's the word we used, musical artist. Is that a wrap, y'all?
Rap.
What?
And with that terrible pun, we're gonna end things off here. Thanks you guys for watching. Like, share, rate, comment, share it with your friends. Give us money.
Good stuff. Don't. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you next time.
Don't forget.